Hi everybody, this is Suzanne Clegg. This is the Friday Facebook Live Distance Healing Group Resonance Ho. All right, so thought that I would talk a little bit about how humans are not animals. And this comes out of my familiarity and expertise in the Bengston Method. So William Bengston has done 18 or 19 peer-reviewed university-level studies showing time and time again complete cancer remissions in herds of mice, clumps of mice, I don't know what you call a bunch of mice. The fact that his method works on mice has been studied up and down and sideways. And it's just lovely how he's done all that. And then what my work has been is to translate that into making it work for humans. And I've done that by, just letting it stand on the shoulders of all my experience as an acupuncturist and as an herbalist, as a medical intuitive, as somebody who's worked with dreams and altered states of consciousness in depth for decades. Person who's very in touch with nature spirits, animals, plants. I have a green thumb. I talk to rocks, they talk back. I'm not crazy. Because I know the difference, If you're crazy, you don't really understand the different dimensions. You kind of get them blurred. But anyway, how are people different from mice? So one way is that it seems that if you take cancerous mice and you do the Bengston Method on them, they get better from their cancer. And in humans, only some of them seem to. So why is that? Because a lot of you are here, have struggled or have valiantly used the Bengston Method, and you've either gotten better. Some of you are here are the cures, which I'm so happy for. And some of you are here who are just hanging on like it's a chronic disease and you're able to go about your life and you don't seem to go under, but it doesn't seem to get better, which might just be your body's way of living with something and having a homeostasis that sort of kind of works, even though we'd like it all gone, right? And then others are here, they know the Bengston Method and the cancer's marching on, even though they seem to be doing it just fine. Their technique seems to be pure and disciplined and growing and evolving and all the things that it's supposed to be, and yet the cancer's marching on. So why is that? Why do mice respond almost 100% to this method, and people seem to be more complicated? So one thing is that in Bengston's research, if you have a clump of mice, they're all very genetically similar. In fact, that's part of the thing, is to take mice that are basically identical twins or identical quadruplets or whatever, there's probably more than that, so that any changes are not due to genetic variation, they're due to, the differences in the treatment. So if you take a sample of people, well, we're all different genetically. So right then and there, we have a different terrain that the Bengston Method is landing on. And then Bengston's done a lot of research with, many of his studies have, trying to get a placebo, trying to work with groups of mice, taking mice, putting some of them far away and trying get to them to not be affected by the group that's being treated, and realizing, they're still in resonance with each other, maybe because they're genetically similar, maybe because of who knows all the other things, maybe because they were just put into a psychic container and now they're resonating, who knows. But I would say that group resonance is not as strong amongst people as it is in animals. Animals seem to have a tribal or species bond that is deeper than people have with each other. And as tribal as we all are now, and like, oh my goodness, the Dems and the Republicans, and everybody's like in their little camps, and And as tribal as humans are, and we're tribal, we certainly get in our groups and we get our blinders on, and we know the truth and those other guys don't. Every human being is much more of an individual than any two dogs or any two cats. So this group, and that's because, think about it, a dog is not really free to not be a dog. I mean, dogs act like dogs. I know they pretend like they're people, and they want to be people, and they want to eat people food. But you know, there's certain things they do that are dead giveaways, that they're not people. And same thing with any animal. They're not trapped in their species, but they're not free to not be their species. Whereas humans, we're actually quite free to not be human. You know, with the dark and the shadowy natures of us individually, and you know, the psychopaths and the bad people, the people that do evil, are testament to the fact that we're quite free to not be ourselves, whereas animals don't have that handicap. And you could say that animals are not as self-aware as humans, which does not mean they don't have consciousness. And they certainly, like you could say this pen has a certain consciousness. Any form has consciousness, right? But the consciousness of my pen is not the same as the consciousness of a plant, which is not the same as the consciousness of my dog, which is not the same as the consciousness as a person. So we're not, it's sort of like love, you know, there's lots of flavors of consciousness. But the self-aware consciousness, this freedom to witness your own process and to be separate from it, is sort of a human characteristic. Even though animals are very aware of themselves and aware of things, and they're certainly aware of things that we're not aware of, so I don't mean to say we're... Anyway, humans are different than animals, okay? And in my healing work, it's this self that needs to... I experience it returning to people as they heal. It's like, oh, I feel more like myself. Whereas in animals, I don't feel like it ever left, and it didn't come back when they heal. It's like they're different, energetically structured. And so what does that mean for a human to be healing that's different than a mouse to be healing? I think what it means is that humans need to be involved. They need to be curious and interested in their healing. They can't just roll their eyes and say, okay, she's doing this thing at me, you know, hope it works. They have, like if you're doing the Bengston Method, you should do a list. You should cycle. You should learn how to cycle. And that will work. The only person that I've experienced a cure with that wasn't involved had Alzheimer's. And so you could say that, I think I learned from that she wasn't in her own way. She just didn't have the mental capacity to interfere. So her son did most of the work, and she had a tumor the size of a grapefruit on her face. It was a skin tumor. It started out under her eye. It obstructed her vision. Anyway, he cycled on her a couple times a day, 3 times a day, got it down to the size of like a quarter. Everybody thought she'd finally, you know, seen the light and got chemo, but she didn't. She didn't do anything like that. She was 88. She figured it would kill her faster than the tumor. And she died of a heart attack. But what it taught me is that by her having no memory, like her short-term memory, she just wasn't involved. And she had feelings about it. She could talk and all that, but she didn't have this ability to manage the process. So she was more animal-like in some ways. And so I think I learned a lot from that. So humans need to be involved and curious and interested. And this is why I want y'all to care enough to put your name on the list each time, because that forces the involvement. Okay, so this is not just because I want everybody to work harder than they want to work. It's because there's a little bit of effort involved, and I think that is necessary for humans to heal. I really do. And then I think that humans get in the way of their own healing in ways that animals don't. We try to manage our spirituality in ways that animals don't. Like when I treat a dog and the dog's tumor cools down and, they are able to sleep because they're not in less pain, or they're able to jump around, jump up the steps because they're in less pain. It's just sort of so matter of fact, they didn't try to make it happen. They're certainly happy they feel better, but it's so not being managed by them. They're not trying to cycle. In fact, I don't know any animals that have learned how to cycle. They can see our cycling, but I think that the cycling, the humans need to learn how. If you're doing the Bengston Method, you need to do the cycling, because the cycling engineers the detachment that otherwise requires just a lot of philosophy. But if you just think of what you want and spin it around, there you go. You got it. You got the detachment that you need. So how do we bargain? How do we manage things spiritually? So one thing is like bargaining with God. Not to say you shouldn't do this, but I'm just saying it's a human thing that animals don't do. So we'll say, God, if you heal me, I will be good, or I will do something nice to the people that I was mean to, or whatever. You'll try to make amends. You'll try to do all these things from a place of bargaining. And animals don't do that at all. Okay? And sometimes humans have faith in a way that annoys me a lot. So faith as in bossing around God way. So they're just like toxic positivity. Like, oh, I have faith that it's all going to be fine. Like, I won't let an intrusive thought come in. I'm just so aligned with my faith that this will happen. To me, that annoys me, because I think it's really hard to do, and I think it's not honest. But even if you could pull it off, it's not honest. I think it's more honest to have faith in, like, allowing a miracle that's embedded in the illness to unfold. I think that's a healthy kind of faith, where you're looking for the miracle, the light that's in the shadow, that's always with the shadow. So I like that kind of faith. These are just my feelings. You can have your feelings about it. And then I feel like when animals do the Bengston Method, if they have a physical need, they seem to gravitate toward the person's hands that are healing them. It's like if they don't have a physical need, it's like they don't really care about the healing. I feel like humans need to have not only a physical need, but they need to have an emotional need for living. You have to care about your life, which again brings us into cycling. And I feel like humans might also need a spiritual need. Like there has to be a reason for them to be alive. And it's not that you can generate a reason. It has to be real. There's a broader play going on. And I think that the mice and the animals that heal from the Bengston Method are in that play too, of course. And there's a spiritual dimension of all of them too. But I don't think they need to be conscious of it. And I think it helps people to be conscious of it. So, whereas in Bengston's study, he takes the mice and they all get better, or like 90% of them, some huge number get better. With people, it's more like a bell curve. Like some people get better. A lot of people just live a lot longer. A lot of people feel better, but still die. And some people don't respond at all. So there's this big wide range of reactions. So, and then people say, well, why doesn't it work for me if it can work for a mouse? And it's because you're more complex. And this is where my coaching comes in, because I can kind of see where the chinks in the armor are, and where we can find a way in, so that you don't have to become somebody you're not. It's actually a relaxation into being who you actually are, warts and all. And yeah. So I'm curious what you think is the difference between animals and people in healing. So these are my ideas. I just jotted them down a few minutes before I got on camera here. But I'm curious what you think. So you can think about it now, think about it later. But let's have a little discussion in the chat to the video about why do you think all Bengston's mice get better? And he's had different healers. It's not all, I say Bengston's mice, but he has different healers working on them because he doesn't want to be the only person that can cure cancer. So he has other people do his method. Why do you think the mice get such amazing results? And people, it seems to vary wildly. So, Tyree says we get in our way for a lot of things. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So my job as a coach is to train you how to get out of your own way, how to sense if you're doing it better, how to get the feedback so you're not living on blind belief and faith, but you're actually observing if it's working or not, and then tweaking your technique, which is kind of like managing, but not really, not the way I teach it. So it's a whole different animal than what we're doing. My one-on-one coaching is a whole different thing than what we do here. So what we do here in this group is we try to leverage group resonance. Okay, so as much resonance as the mice are with each other, it's kind of a challenge for people to do that. Usually we would get together in, like at churches or at work, and do things together. Because resonance is when two similar things are next to each other, they become more than themselves. And that was a tuning fork, and then it wriggled. Yeah, so how can we create a group resonance right now? Because we've got some really precious people here that need healing, some really precious animals here that need healing, that really need it. They need it physically, they need it emotionally, they need it spiritually. And the world needs them. The world is better off with them on this side of the veil, right? So what can we do in the next few moments that will help us heal and be healed? And I would say that one of the biggest things we can do is resonate with each other. How do you resonate with each other? You think about each other and feel our commonality, like we're all people here, people watching the videos. There might be some animals listening in and that kind of thing. We can resonate with them as well. But yeah. Sarah, I'll answer you in the other thing. It's probably money and a bunch of other things, and lack of being able to have controls, and time. It's like it's not ready, and he's one person. She's saying, why haven't his studies advanced to the level of human controls? Right now, it's a lot of anecdotal evidence of people being cured. Okay. But a person that works with it, I know it's like a bell curve. Some people respond and some people don't. And my job is to get you into the responding category. But I can't make you, but I can at least clear out some of the obvious blocks and then let the allowing of it, the process to happen, and model how to let that happen. Okay, good. All right, so let's begin. I'm going to do a little guided visualization now. We're going to go into a healing sanctuary.